Hello friends, this is Carrie and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Friends, today we're exploring another sub. It's Neighbors from Hell. It's kind of like Just No HOA or FHOAs, except there's no HOA. We have 5 stories out of this sub and prepare to get annoyed with some crazy neighbors. Let's begin. Our first story is posted by Disgruntled Veteran. My pool is not a motel room. Backstory: I am a combat veteran and a school teacher at this time. My wife is also a school teacher as well. So I bought my first house 12 years ago. It was in a lower middle class neighborhood with a lot of working class families. My house had a pool in the backyard. My parents bought my wife and I a hot tub as a wedding/housewarming gift. 2 weeks after moving in, we found a stranger and 6 teenage kids swimming in our pool when we got home. I will call them Entitled Mother, EM, Entitled Daughter, ED, Entitled Son, ES, and the others I assume are their friends and/or/boyfriend. ED was about 18 or 19 and her brother was about 17. When we told them to get out and to get off our property, the EM told me that the previous owners gave them permission to come over whenever they wanted to swim. I explained to her that I was the new owner and that I was not okay with that. The EM told me, I told the EM that not only did I not know them, but there's legal liability for me if they get hurt. She yelled and fake cried, saying that I was being a bad neighbor, selfish, and forcing her kids to sweat in the summer heat. She told me that if they died from heat stroke, that it would be my fault for not letting them swim in the pool. I told her to get the hell off my property and not to return. Fast forward to another 2 weeks. I had put up no trespassing signs on my property in multiple spots and had gotten to know many of the not entitled neighbors. They were great and told me to ignore the EM and her kids. They also told us that the EM was now bad-mouthing us, but no one ever believed her. Now I start to notice when I wake up in the morning that there is some evidence of people using my pool and hot tub at night when we're asleep or away. I find beer cans, cigarette butts, and even used condoms. Ew. I figure it has to be the EM and/or her brats. So I install cameras on the grounds and start recording. And sure enough, I catch the entitled daughter and a few others hanging out in my pool Friday nights when my wife and I are out. Friday nights, she goes to her friend's house for movies and wine, and I play Warhammer 40k or card games. I figured they must have been waiting for us to leave when they threw their mini party or were quietly swimming when we slept. So I discussed it with my wife and decided to teach the EM and her brats a lesson. So the next Friday night, I parked my car a street over, and my wife did the same. We wait in the dark house to see if anyone comes over. Sure enough, the entitled daughter, and I assume her boyfriend, the entitled son, and I'm assuming his girlfriend, and 4 other teens come right over and start skinny dipping in my pool and hot tub. Why a brother and sister would do that together still bothers me. They had beer, and I could smell the weed from inside the house. I wait 45 minutes for them to really get into the fun, and 2 are actually passionately hugging in the pool. I then spring my trap. I go out with my Ruger Mini 14 with a 40-round magazine, for you gun enthusiasts like me, pointed at the ground but at the ready. When I reach the pool, my wife flips on the back lights and I yell, "Freeze, or I'll shoot." My wife calls the police in the meanwhile. They all have a deer caught in the headlights look on their faces, and not one of them tried to speak for a good minute. The entitled daughter starts to tell us that she has permission to be there and that we need to let them get dressed. I tell them that if they move towards me or their property, that I will consider them to be charging me and reaching for a weapon, and I'll shoot. They must have believed me because they freeze. The girls begged me to give them their clothes while trying to cover up their breasts with their hands. Not being a total jerk, I say I'll throw them their clothes. I walk over to the pile of clothes, phones, purses, and throw everything into the pool. They are freaking out trying to save their phones and their other goods. After about 10 minutes, the police show up, and they ask the kids to climb out of the pool wearing their soaked clothes and trying to shake their phones dry. I show the police the video from our cameras and the no trespassing signs. I explained to them that I told them and their mother that they were persona non grata. The kids were arrested for trespassing and possession of controlled substance, underage drinking, and indecent exposure. The police recommended that next time I leave the gun in the gun safe and let them come and get them. I told them I thought they may attack my wife, and I had to stand my ground. I proved that I never pointed my gun at them in the video, so they couldn't charge me with anything. As the kids were being loaded into the police cruiser, the entitled mom showed up and was yelling at the police and my wife and I. She demanded that the police let them go and even tried opening the door of one of the cruisers. The police threatened her with being arrested if she didn't back off and leave my wife and I alone. Later I found out that the charges against the teens were reduced and they all got plea deals. They all got community service, fines, and were put on probation. We got a restraining order against the EM and her brats so that they couldn't bother us anymore. I sent the EM a bill, the cost of draining, disinfecting, and refilling the pool, and having a professional cleaning service clean up the kids' mess. The bill was for $400. I had my parents' attorney send the EM with a letter saying that if it wasn't paid in 30 days, that we would sue for a larger amount. She paid and sent a check to my attorney, and thankfully the check didn't bounce. About a year later, the entire family moved away, and we never heard from them again. Our next story is by Black Sheepy. Stalked by teenagers in my neighborhood because I didn't want to let them pet my new dog. Oh, to be young again. I had the thrilling time of my 29 female life walking around my neighborhood with my dog this evening, only to come across 3 teenage boys who asked to pet him. I said no, but to have a good evening, boys. 3 things here. 1, I was polite as possible. 2, I've only had the dog for a month and I haven't been able to have him around a lot of other people, especially young ones, so I don't know how he'll react. 3, there's this thing called social distancing because of the global issue. My significant other has a bad heart and we currently have a 10-month-old, and I'm between health insurance. So, sorry if I don't want to stop and chat with 3 teenage boys. Well, let the fun begin. I noticed that they were walking up the street the same way as me. So I turn onto another street, hoping that they wouldn't follow to ask to pet the dog again. I walk up another way to another street and start heading up. I get halfway up the hill and turn back and see them following me. It's getting dark and I hear one of them say, "Let's go to the playground." I'm relieved to know that they were just going that way to go to the playground, although there were easier streets to go up to get there. Nope, I get onto another street, well past the playground, and look back. As I'm walking, there they are, glowing under the streetlight, running after me. So my dopey butt is like, should I be afraid of these 15-ish-year-olds? Yes I should. So I turn back on my street after doing a completely unnecessary large circle around my community, and I run. I ran so fast. I got to my driveway, put my dog inside my house, and sat on my porch next to my front door in the dark to make sure that they didn't mess with my cars or my property. One of the kids walks up our driveway. At this point, it's pitch black. The streetlights outside my home hadn't been working. I see this kid's silhouette and I see him pull out his phone. He's taking multiple pictures of our cars and address. I see this and I jump out and shout, "You better get going," to which he sheepishly replies, "I am," like he knows that he was caught. So I yell out again, "You better or I'll catch you." I meant to finish that sentence with red-handed, but he cut me off with what, and stopped walking. So I ran inside. Great. I know, I chose to buy a house here, but it shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be afraid to politely decline a stranger from petting my dog, and I shouldn't be afraid to walk my dog by myself. I had a high-powered laser pointer and a long screwdriver with me, but what am I gonna do? Stab some 15-year-olds? Blind them from a mile away? I would rather not have to. We'll be buying some mace or something like that, fortunately. No more evening walks for me. If you're enjoying the content so far, please put a heart emoji in the comment section down below. Our next story is posted by DSJKDM, go to HE double hockey stick. My Wi-Fi was being stolen until I put a really hard password on it. A few months ago, like 2.5, I started noticing how my internet speed was really low. Although I paid for the service, today I downloaded a Wi-Fi scanner tool for cell phones, and guess what? I saw 3 devices, cell phones, that I didn't recognize, and I got so angry because I couldn't download/watch movies, games, etc. because of the lag. Then I decided to change my password to something really hard to guess for a person or for a Wi-Fi hack tool like brute force. The thing is, when I did it, like 15 minutes later, I heard how some of the neighbor kids started yelling something like, "What the heck happened to the internet? I can't connect again," and more things. That's what happens when you do something like that and you actually face some consequences. Like, really? You thought I'd never realize that you idiots were stealing my Wi-Fi without caring that I need it for my job or to enjoy movies or something else? Our next story is by Snickle Fritz. Asked nicely twice, but neighbor still uses our lawn. Long saga and rant. My husband and I moved into our first home last summer. Coming from the city, we found our slice of suburban heaven as the property offered a beautiful yard with a well-water, irrigated, lush grass. We also chose it for what we perceived as privacy, at least compared to where we had lived. When we first met our neighbor, closest in proximity to us, she seemed very nice and thoughtful, and we thought how lucky we were to have such a lovely neighbor. This changed quickly as she became overbearing to the point where I couldn't be in my backyard without fearing she'd yell over to me to come over. She would interrupt me no matter what I was doing. She has a dog of her own, and she's single, middle-aged, no kids, divorced, and she let us know early on that our backyard was like her dog park before we moved in, as the old man who had lived here previously died and the lot was vacant for a year or so. She has her own fenced-in backyard, but it's the opposite of our green grass with rocks and planters, and it's quite unkempt. For a few months, we let her over frequently. We then began to avoid her. Other strange things started to happen with her, but that's besides the point of this thread. But anyway, what really started to irk me, especially because I work from home all the time, is that she would be on our side of the yard all the time. She tied her dog to our fence on our lawn. She used it as a potty spot multiple times a day. One morning, I even woke up to her loudly on the phone below my bedroom window, looking into our first floor window. It was getting obnoxious. Our side yard has no barrier, aside from the fact that ours has lush green grass and hers has rocks and pine needles. Not once did she have a conversation with us asking if the use of our lawn was okay. She started to call me in the middle of work days as I was in meetings, trying to focus, to ask if her dog could come into our backyard. The final straw was when she left a voicemail asking for permission to let herself into our backyard whenever she pleased, since my two dogs were always outside. I felt like that was asking too much after she'd been overbearing for the past 4 months of us living there. Granted, I think she had good intentions in the effort to be nice to us, but my introverted husband and I found it overbearing and annoying, especially in the way that she used our property as if we didn't exist or as she was entitled to. So I went outside to talk to her after I listened to the voicemail. It took a lot of working up to and courage because I truly hate confrontations. I politely and timidly let her know that we don't feel comfortable with her using our backyard whenever she pleases. She didn't take it well to begin with and rolled her eyes and talked back. I went on further to ask her to stop using our side yard because we like our privacy. She then lost it, saying, "Well, so much for having a good neighborly relationship," and she stormed off. I was taken aback because if someone let me know that I was overstepping someone's comfort zones and property zone, I would say so sorry and I had no idea, but of course not. Later, she came to our door to pick up something that we were borrowing, and she started saying some nasty things like how I hadn't tried to be nice. I had, in my own way, and how my husband and I should get a fence if we were so concerned. Needless to say, she's a grown woman and the property line is obvious. But alright, months had passed and we hadn't talked to her much. So I observed that now she would stand on her property with her dog leashed, but now the dog was on our property so that it could go to the bathroom. I guess she was making an effort. A couple of weeks ago, she got a new puppy, and she's returned to using our yard as she had done before. She is literally training her puppy to go poo on our lawn. Really? So my husband wasn't too upset at first until he found 5 piles of poop sitting in our grass. That was it for him. I've been annoyed about it for a while because I work from home and see/hear her doing it, and it's the principal for me at this point. He went over to talk to her with poop bagged up in his hand and let her know that our property is not an area for her dog to go to the bathroom. She made a few excuses and said that she'd get a property surveyor, and my husband said we'd respect the results. He also asked her to respect us and left the poop on her porch and walked away. She hasn't apologized or taken any accountability. When she makes excuses as to why she uses our property, she passively tries to make us sound like the a-holes. As mentioned, we will respect the result of the surveyor if she gets one, but I know for a fact that our entire side yard is not her property, and I genuinely don't think any of it is because of land markers and the deed I read, but whatever. She's still using our lawn for her dogs after we talked to her twice. Now my husband and I are submitting a fence permit with our town so that we can hopefully resolve this by building a barrier, and I'm bummed that it has to come to this. This has caused us a lot of frustration and slightly feels like suburban hell now. Is there anything else that we should consider doing? Also, what the heck? Our final story is posted by 69 Shoot Bucks. Psycho neighbor mad about privacy screen. Backstory: he's been harassing me for 5 years. He gets very angry if we have stuff on our porch, gardening equipment, camping chairs, toys, and the like. So 2 days ago we put up a gorgeous privacy screen. I was overjoyed to plant some things in its planter boxes. I go nuts for plants. Now he can't see most of our porch, and I have a large potted shrub that further obstructs his view. He didn't say anything yesterday because my husband was home, but today he was furious. He started angrily chuckling and repeating, "It's a joke," to himself. He's been building something on his porch for the past 2 hours, complaining about me and 2 other neighbors the whole time. Somehow he's going to make the guy at the end of the street repave the section of our alley, and he's really PO'd at the guy behind us who had his yard surveyed. It turns out that a foot of what he thought was his property actually belonged to another neighbor, and so he was pretty steamed over those 12 inches. He is now quoting the Bible and says that he's going to put something up on his porch because do unto others. And he's saying I need to get a lawyer. He keeps making loud comments about how he can finally plant something again now that he has cameras because someone, me, killed his plants last year. I didn't do anything to him. If someone killed his plants, they would 1, be dead, and 2, the grass underneath would be dead. I took pictures before he ripped them out, and they were healthy. If your neighbor came into your yard and killed your plants, you take pictures and call the cops, right? None of that happened because I didn't do anything. Also, if he hates what I have on my porch so much, I would think he would be happy that he doesn't have to see it anymore. Stupid idiot. Also, if he wants to play the religious scripture game, it seems that he forgot the "thou shalt not bear false witness." That's all the stories I have for today. Links to the original Reddit posts will be in the description box below. Please stop on by Reddit to show the OP some love and an upvote. If you enjoy my videos, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I upload new videos. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.